Hello. Welcome back, guys, to another episode of the Second Nature podcast. I can't remember what episode number this is. I want to say like 42, maybe 43. I've lost track. But from the last episode, there were a few statements made about it's coming home to the to this land, Britain. Obviously, at the time of this recording, it's now been a week and 2 days after the Euro 2020 final, and it's not come home. Instead, it's gone to Rome. It is what it is, you know. After I quickly got over the loss because, you know, this is just England and this is what they do. I didn't expect I did expect the racism that ensued right after. It's just a shame that had to be 3 black boys that missed because
that was devastating, right?
Yeah, this country. But yes, let's get on with today's episode. I am joined by my lovely co-host ARAMIDE. I also have Faith on and Chude. We're actually going to talk about a topic that causes a bit of controversy in the
That's
Christian...
been lighting up for the timeline quite recently.
Yeah. ARAMIDE, do you want to introduce, let them know what we're talking about?
Yes. Are you looking for love? Are you looking for money? Do you want a boohoo deal? Does PLT need to have a brand with your name on it? A collection of clothing with holes in it? We're going to talk about Love Island. Yes, it's not really an island. It's somewhere in Spain.
Wait, does anyone actually know what island it is?
I think they're in Mallorca or Monaco.
It's something with an M.
Yeah.
If I can find it, I can give Kaz a message and saying, beloved, the game you're playing is not a good one.
I don't think she's playing the game. I think she's just lipsing everybody. And I'm not saying that to shame.
To free the lips. I hear it.
But basically, if you've not watched the show, the idea is that they have these singles, men and women, and they put them into this island together, and the whole purpose is they're supposed to find love. I will say that there have been some couples who have, gotten to marriage. And as a Christian, I commend that. Maybe not the route to it, but they've landed there. But basically, you're supposed to find love. And so there's a lot of recoupling where people break up, join back together, get to know each other. And basically, they spend 24 hours together, and it kind of speeds up that process. So in the real world, you might be in a situation for like 2 years or like talking stage for like 6 months. In Love Island, some people are becoming boyfriend and girlfriend within a couple of weeks of being there. And it grips the nation by the neck. And I kind of sort of love it.
Yeah. I guess before we start all that, because it's Faith's first time, I guess we should allow her to introduce herself because it'd be kind of rude not to. So Faith, tell us a bit about yourself.
So my name is Faith. Well, my first name is actually Heike. A lot of people don't know that. But I'm German, so that's where the name comes from. And I work as a associate automations engineer. So that's what I do when I'm not on podcasts.
It sounds rich.
Yeah, it does. It sounds like there's money to be made.
Yeah, it does.
We'll talk later.
It's okay.
I guess the question that we kind of have to ask is why do we love Island?
We love it.
Well, yeah, why do we like it, I guess? Or why are we so intrigued by it? Because at the end of the day, it's trash television. Like, if Big Brother is on, I'm not watching Big Brother. Like, let's be straight. All these other reality TV shows, I'm probably not watching. But Love Island, for some reason, when that is on, I'm there, 9 o'clock, ready.
You just push everything to the side by 9 o'clock. I think it's like a weird human experiment. It's like you put people in a cage together and you just see what happens, right? But honestly, I feel like what gets the show going is what happens outside the show, what happens online, because it's like the entire nation is tuned in. It's like watching football, like the England game, but having that every night except on Friday nights. And everyone's coming together, sharing their thoughts about what's going on. and just seeing like, and I think the islanders forget that they're being watched, and so they just do things that are absolutely crazy, and you sat at home watching like, what's going on? And then you go on Twitter and there's other people agreeing with you. I think it gives you that like community feel. It's not just the people in the house, I think.
Yeah, it's that aspect of forgetting that the cameras are there is something that I always wonder, do they like forget, or do they just get complacent? Because some of the conversations they're having, it's like, do we know that we can see you? Like, we can see you. The cameras and the microphone that's on your body at all times is picking up what you're saying. Even when you're whispering, it doesn't work. So in that aspect, it doesn't really make sense to me. But I guess, do you think, well, I know it's a quite obvious answer, but do you think there could be like a Christian version of Love Island?
Impossible. It's impossible.
No way.
No way.
No way.
What would they be sleeping in different houses? How would you even go about doing that?
It just wouldn't even work.
Because Christians are humans, like
it just wouldn't work. Like, you couldn't wear bikinis or it wouldn't even work. But it'd be Christian Bible study. Like, what would happen? Games they wouldn't be able to play.
Can we talk about the games for a second?
No, the games are too much. Do you know what? Yeah, I feel like they're playing those games because I really do think the producers are on the TL, especially in the last few seasons, so that they've like seen that usually like especially in the last couple of seasons, the first 2 weeks are kind of bland until like somebody comes in. Like I remember the one where Maura's, it was kind of dead until she came. So I think they have tried to like spice things up by implementing those games. Like, what was the first episode? Somebody was sucking someone's toes.
Oh,
there was also another game where people were like transporting food by their mouths to other people.
Oh, no.
So like you take a bite of food, you spit it in someone's mouth, and they'll take it elsewhere.
This Corona.
There's games where what about Corona? And there's games where people are like dancing in lingerie and milk. What else? There's the one where people are in jail, and basically some games don't even have a purpose. Like, there's no winner. It's literally just like, do a game and that's it. And I feel like the games have even been more sexual.
Well, yeah, we know why, because when they're not doing a challenge, when they're sat around on the island, they're not doing anything. It's so boring. it's so boring.
And sex sells, doesn't it? Like,
exactly.
Sex sells. It's easy as well. Like, they don't have to be very imaginative to make it like interesting and have people tune into that. So,
and what's crazy is everyone's topless anyway. So the fact that everyone's topless and that's boring, and the fact that the challenges is the only like exciting part, they've really flopped this season.
That could never work as a Christian thing. It would be like a situation where the closest I think we're gonna get to Christian Love Island is like a conference.
Yeah, singles conference.
Yeah, where you guys are like in separate like huts or whatever, and the girls are with the girls, and everyone's wearing turtleneck and skirts that cover your knees.
Or a retreat, a weekly.
Or a retreat, you play games like to kill it instead of
you sneak into each other's cabins, all that good stuff.
Yeah, no alcohol, none of that. You know, to do Bible study, that's what you sneak into the cabin to do. When they hug each other, they have to leave room for the Holy Spirit.
Yeah,
like, it just wouldn't work.
I think it could be
Christian work, but it'd just be boring.
You think they could do what?
A Christian Love is Blind.
Love is
Blind. I've not seen that show
on Netflix, isn't it?
Oh, I've seen that.
That's like, well, that's kind of essentially like matchmaking, though, isn't it? So
yeah, I think that's the closest you can probably get to a very controlled environment.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. That should actually lead me into the next part. So, like, what would a Christian dating show even look like? Because me and ARAMIDE were talking in the morning, and we were saying that a lot of Christian guys, like when they're looking at Christian women, obviously they're looking at the looks, but nothing about them that would be Christ exalting is something that they're attracted to. They're mostly obviously attracted to what they see. And then sometimes even when they figure out another woman's personality, they just ignore it because what they see is all that they want. So yeah, what kind of would the Christian dating show even look like?
It's interesting that you say that Christian men only want what they see, because like From
Can
my
I just say,
experience,
JIREH is a Christian man, and he's speaking for all Christian men.
No, no, that's not what we're doing
are,
today.
are you speaking for all
I'm
Christian
kidding.
men?
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. I might speak for the men in Manchester, but that's about it.
Okay.
Oh, that's even worse.
But based on my own experience and like my male friends and stuff, I think you're right. I think the initial like thing is you meet a girl and you're like, oh, okay, she's pretty or whatever. Like, or let me get to know her or whatever. But I think men do still care about the personality, Christian men. Because at the end of the day, you have to live with this woman if you marry her. And like a lot of Christian men, or most, if not all, their goal is to get married to get married if they're going to pursue a woman, right? So I think they still care about that as well. So I think on a Christian dating show, there would be that aspect of maybe, oh yeah, she's fine, but she ain't got this in terms of personality wise. Once they get to know the woman a bit more, I think they'll start to like uncover, yes, I like the way she looks outside, but I don't really like her internal person. I'm not really feeling that type of thing.
But do you think that if they had like two options, someone who wasn't as good looking but had all the tangible, intangible stuff, and someone who was really good looking and didn't have the tangible stuff, like
No.
what do you think would happen?
I
Let's
love
be
how
honest
you said
here,
could
let's
it
be
work?
honest.
It can't work.
Can't
No,
work.
I think I think on the show they'll probably be like, boy, like
Everyone
okay,
put their best foot forward, though. You're not gonna,
Yeah.
if you have like a ratty personality, you're not gonna bop onto a show
Yeah,
with
yeah.
other Christians where your pastor can see you, and people in your church, and then go there and be like, yeah, I pray to God, and then like they tune into you at night, and you're like beatboxing to like, pop, 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 you know, doing Megan Thee Stallion and all these things and jumping off the walls. People are gonna put their best foot forward. Like we all know what is good and what isn't, to an extent anyway. So you can just fool someone on the show and just like come back
That's
home
true.
and then reveal the real you.
You're Satan.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's true. And I think just to answer your question as well, I think to pick between the good looking one that her personality is not that great and the one that's not so good looking but her personality is great, I think what men tend to do is they pick none, or they'll entertain the good looking one for a little while, but they're not gonna like be serious. Like eventually they're gonna drop her, and then they're just waiting for a good looking Christian girl that loves Jesus and is actually about Jesus. That's what they're waiting for. That's what I've noticed. If they don't see that, they just tend to be like, you're my friend. This one I entertain you for a little while until the one I really want comes along, which is wrong, but I have seen that happen.
I think
Yeah.
you're giving this man a lot of credit. I think some people will just be like, she loves the Lord, she'll submit. So when we get into marriage, things will just be smooth.
My God.
I'm saying this, but I'm not a man.
But you know what? Yeah.
So you guys answer, yeah.
I just think, like, let's assume that the TL had access to this show that we've imagined. Can you imagine somebody just not getting picked? They'll get cooked online.
That happened to Hugo in a challenge.
Yeah, I don't feel because it's a Christian show, people will be nice.
Kinda.
I just think you're gonna get cooked. And I think what would be worse is that your fellow brothers and sisters in Christ will be cooking you, will be the ones doing the cooking online as well. Like
with scripture as well.
Just be long. Like, can you imagine like getting there for like 2 weeks and nobody has selected you? Like nobody has even.
Well, you know what can happen when you come off, if you come off that show, there's two things that can happen.
Yeah.
There's either no one wants you because the show has essentially damaged your stocks, or people want you because they think you're easy pickings, which is not a good thing because the people who will approach you know that they can have their way with you. So
can I just clarify? Are we just describing Christians when we talk about these people outside the TL? Because we are hoping, I'm hoping that the sanctified, people out there have better. JIREH, don't roll your eyes, but we can't like see Christians as the way we see the people of the world, even though set Christians will have the tendency to behave that way, and that we have to hope for the best. Otherwise, if you can't hope, then what do you have? You might as well jump in the pool with everyone else, and I might as well apply to be on Love Island if I can get just a deal, just a nibble, just a bite of a brand new. I'm kidding.
No, you're right, ARAMIDE, but I think you're right, and I think that's what I was kind of trying to describe, the the Christian. You know, I don't want to say Christian, like the Christian. But I think, Chud, you do have a point in saying that people will roast, because even if you look at your TL right now, I mean, I don't have Twitter, but I'm sure you follow Christians, and I'm sure it's the Christians that are doing the roasting right now, you know? So how much more? It's not.
It is.
No, it is.
It is.
Actually,
Yeah.
no, it
Today
is.
is leading.
I was gonna say these two are culprits. I keep it in the DMs where it needs to be.
No,
they
you
put it on the
group
TL.
chats
Not
laughing.
just that, but they even put hashtag so that other people can find it.
Live.
And when you now go, when you go into their bio, you now see Christ and Philippians 4.
I'm cooking live. Listen. Your soul is for Jesus, yeah, but you're getting cooked on this earth, bro. You're getting cooked here.
Um,
No, but the thing is, like, I just feel, but with what you're saying, I do think you guys have raised a good point, because I think it also would you have to determine what is too far. So, like, because I don't think there's necessarily, I think, okay, there might be like a clear, like, extreme, you know, saying you are an ugly person who can never find anybody. Okay, I think we would all agree that that's like you're too far, or getting to the point where you're like dismissing somebody as an image bearer. But then jokes that don't reach that far, like, what is too much? Do you get what I'm saying? Like, what is it to the point where somebody has? How do you determine someone has a malicious intent? I don't know if that's necessarily clear online.
Well, we know Danny has malicious intent, because that guy is
like he can.
So, do you want to tell Faith who Danny is?
Yeah, who is Danny?
Basically, Danny was the latest islander that came on the island. He's from Lee, which is near Manchester. He's covered in tattoos from head to toe.
Neck.
His neck all the way down to his body. Have you ever watched Prison Break?
Yeah, I've seen
Michael Schofield. He's got tattoos like that. But he's not breaking out of anywhere.
Out of the island.
Not breaking out of island. No way.
But yeah, he just comes across as very, very aggressive. And what's funny is, like, lots of people.
Can I just say, from a woman's perspective, it just seems very possessive. So there was a girl that he liked. We didn't even know that he liked her, because I don't even think they didn't show them talking, because he went on 2 dates with these 2 girls. He didn't pick them. He went for a different girl.
He picked them both for vibes, which tells me
just for vibes, just to have a meal. Yeah. Oh, wow. And he basically he kind of put her in a position where it's like, you choose me or this guy, and he was like, I don't want to be mugged off, and then he kind of stumped away.
Let's put context to this. You either choose me or the black guy. Now, granted, 85
he didn't
weeks
say
ago,
the black guy.
No, but 85 weeks ago on his Instagram, he used the N-word to describe one of his friends who is not black. So obviously he's already been tainted, because everyone's thinking, oh, this guy's a racist. And now he's talking about, are you trying to mug me off? You have to respect me. I'm like, what's going on here? The vim that you're showing.
He was just a bit possessive, a bit, quite possessive, considering you've been in the house for literally a couple of days. And there was even a point where, like, he was walking away, and I kind of got the feeling that she was a bit scared. And it was just one of them ones where it's kind of like, you don't know this girl, she doesn't know you, you know, you like her, she's not feeling you, and here you are pressed on national television. Upset. And at one point he described her as a black Lamborghini.
Why did you look like that?
She's not black
at all.
She's not.
The analogy did not make sense, like, at all. To be honest, like, it didn't make sense. It
was just a bit of a mess. But yeah, continue, JIREH, about Daniel.
So, well, ARAMIDE's actually just finished it off, and what I was saying was, as I was watching him, I was thinking, I've actually met Christian guys that are kind of like this, especially if they're like, what do I want to say, when they're new in faith? Sometimes they're not even new in faith. That's just how they kind of are, because they're still operating from their ways back in the BC life before Christ, and they're using those tactics in the Christendom. Which kind of brings me to the question of Christian dating. No, I don't know. I might omit myself from this topic. I'm just going to ask you guys, what have your experiences been like in Christian dating? Aramide put her head down and
Yeah,
Faith just started laughing.
I've been out of the game for way too
I,
long.
Oh, it must be nice.
I admit myself.
hey,
No. You
It
know
not
must
what?
be
me.
nice.
I'm out of
Can
the
I just
game,
say,
innit?
Yeah,
So
I feel like this is an excuse because before you two got into relationships, you were single, and it's kind of like, yeah, but that was the old me. That was the old me.
I was tethered to
Certain people
Christ.
would have. Of course. I mean, I would say I've not dated since being a Christian. There was like a bit of an overlap, between being Christian and being kind of sort of not single, and then being single, which is what I've been for the past 3 years. And I would say the people that I dated, was before I was ever a Christian, were all Christian.
Interesting.
very interesting.
That shaking of head says it says a lot, man. It says a
If
lot.
I speak,
Yeah, don't worry. Listen.
if I speak,
Yeah.
if I speak,
Don't expose yourself.
Oh no, don't worry. It's not me.
It's not even high, it's them.
It's not me. But I think from that perspective, because I guess I have that kind of quote unquote interesting perspective of like someone who was kind of maybe exploring the faith, like, which is something that I might be interested in or not. It seemed like almost when they were dating, they parked their Christianity in church. And when you saw them around their friends or in the club or uni, in the library, they were just like regular guys, which meant that they didn't show any sort of fruit of the spirit whatsoever. And I even dare say that some of them, they used the imagination of the Holy Spirit to concoct wicked acts. No, because I was at that time, because I had like friends that weren't Christian at all, and the way that they behaved was very different to the way that some of the Christians guys behaved. It was almost like they were a bit unhinged, a bit like they just didn't know how to behave out like in normal society, or how to interact with women, or what's kind of right or wrong. And I think sometimes, especially in like smaller churches or maybe areas where there's not a lot of men, the fact that they know that, number one, they're men, that they're Christian, gets to their head, and they start to behave in an unruly manner because they know that they've got options, and they know that the women are essentially, like, all women kind of want the same thing. You want someone who's kind, someone who's loving, someone who's generous, someone you find attractive. And so because they know they fit the bill, it's almost like they don't actually have to work hard on having good personalities, because they know that actually they're the choice, like that they're the people that are basically being, JIREH, no. That people are like, because people are praying on fasting, they're blasting in tongues. God, where's my husband? Where's my husband? Where's my husband? And they know, like, these women want us. And I think that just, I think that kind of pride and ego gets to their head, and they just move very, very mad.
I think some men are hungry though, like, because I just think
hungry for what?
For attention, because I think if you're really truly getting women, female attention like that as a male, I know there's some people that just don't have self-control and, like you said, act unhinged. But for those who actually are used to attention, I think that you behave in a way that states that, no, like, if you're really used to getting attention, like serious attention, not necessarily that girls are throwing themselves at you, but you're not struggling in that regard. Because I, for example, this will be controversial, and I apologize if you can't bring it back on your podcast again, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Don't worry, it's not gonna be too hard. Like, I was saying this to my friend, we were just driving in London. I was saying this to my friend. I was like, there seems to be a disparity between women who don't seem to get attention from men and women who do. They talk about there not being men in the church differently, because I've got friends in like who do, and they talk about it differently. This lack of men in the church differently from what I see on the TL.
Differently,
very,
how?
very differently.
Yeah, how?
Like, there's not hopelessness. Like, their discussion is there's not guys that I want, rather than there's no guys at all.
Oh, actually, that's very true.
So then, so then I try to like compare that to guys who say that they have options, but do they really have options, or they are just, or they just imagine because there are maybe potentially more women in their setting, that I potentially have more chances to be successful, rather
But
than
the women don't like them.
Yep.
exactly. But then compared to another guy who actually does get attention, and his arrogance might be based on the fact is like, I'm actually still getting attention irrespective of my behavior. Does that make sense? Like
Yeah.
the attitude is different because the situations are different. Does that make sense?
It does. And just to buttress your point as well, and it's not just like, I think we can all say in whichever churches you go to, there are single men there, but they're not for you because you don't like them. And I think other men also see that as well, because they know the guys that aren't really getting the girls or can't get the attention of the girls. And I think I hate this concept of alpha male, of alpha this, alpha that, gamma, beta, whatever. But I feel like it builds them up in a really unhealthy way, because they know that even in the midst of the men, I am still the man.
Yes.
You guys are playing ball, but you're not really on the pitch. It's like, I am here. Like
football analogy,
that was
not like Toby.
You
Toby
need to help Toby.
Rubbish.
Yeah, what he said didn't make any sense. You need to slide into loss.
Beloved, change your ways. That wasn't the right concept. And I think them, that's basically the point I wanted to make. Like, they see it as well, and I just feel like it's really unhealthy, because like, if you think about what the church is meant to be, like a whole community of people where everyone is covered and everyone is fed, it's not for you to use it as like a pool for you to kind of get your ego and and just dip. But that's what I wanted to say.
And it's interesting, I think sometimes the
like
men,
you have what to say.
Right, I do, but we don't have the time,
we have the time.
No, but
we have
the men
capacity.
The men that you guys are describing that don't really get the attention,
a
lot of times when they get shut down, they don't understand why, because they're like, I'm a Christian, that's enough. Like, I'm a Christian, full stop.
Carry my Bible.
You know what I mean? They don't think they don't think about everything else, like compatibility. That's not something that they feel like they need to worry about. As long as I tick the Christian box, you should want me, because there's not that many of me, type of thing. But for me, it's like the women that
I'm all you got.
Yeah, literally. Again,
it's like
I'm everything you have, and it's like, no, like, we never teach this idea that women have options too. Amen. Yes, there may not be many of you where I am in my church, but I don't have to get married to someone in my church.
Amen.
Like, I can get married to someone at someone else's church. I can get married to a Christian in America. You're not the only Christian man that I know. Even though you might be the only Christian man in my church, you're not the only Christian man that I know. And I feel like they don't actually understand that. They think, oh yeah, there's not that many Christian men, full stop. So I'm a Christian, that should be enough for this Christian woman. But it's not.
Yeah,
I think that's tied to like the dismissal of like female sexuality, in terms of like, even when, I know we're not going to talk about modesty or anything like that, or like even people having like sexual urges or anything, it's like, the men, control yourself, the women, cover your chest so that the men don't get enticed. But it's part of like, as you being a woman, it's kind of like, as long as it has like, all his limbs and it has a job and is a Christian,
that's enough.
His limbs.
Yeah.
That will do.
No, but he doesn't even need to have all his limbs.
I said he can walk.
Yeah.
he can walk, he can talk.
And I've had women say stuff like that to me, like, oh, why? Like, he's got a good job, Why
don't you just manage him? I don't want to manage somebody.
His card is full.
Like, what do you mean? He's got a good job, he makes money. Like, he's a Christian, he loves Jesus. And it's like, okay. So because he loves Jesus, I should not marry him.
So does my father.
Exactly. Like, so does my father, my brother. Like,
that is actually really true, because I have actually heard that as well. Of guys saying that.
They tell you to humble yourself. Just humble yourself.
Well, they won't say it directly, but
yeah.
And I guess my question is, do you think guys and girls are being, Christian guys and girls are being too picky, or do you think you're being either too picky, or we're looking for like a fairy tale kind of scenario, and we're not considering people that God has already placed in our lives, kind of thing? Like, we just maybe we haven't opened the chakra in our
That's the chakra.
The Sharon gun.
we haven't opened the spiritual eyes yet.
Eyes.
I don't think it's impossible though to be too picky. Like I think, like I'm not gonna expose anybody, but I know people that I've told them that I feel like you need to just reprioritize where you put certain things, right? But everyone has their own standards, and I understand where people are coming from. Age is a big one that women don't want to move on, and I get it. Like I really do get it. Like I'm not surprised that women don't want to date or marry people that are younger than them. Like I don't really know too many that.
Well, would you two do that?
There's gonna be a no. I can see it in their eyes.
No, I wouldn't say. I used to say no, but I'm getting old.
I'm
joking. I'm joking. I used to say no, but now I've recognized that maturity does not come with age. I've met a lot of older men that are just not as mature, and I've met men that are younger than me that are quite mature. So I would probably go like a year younger, like a year younger.
A year.
I've 1 year.
I've dated someone that was younger than me, and
wait, sorry, can we just define dating? Like, what do we mean?
As in, like, not necessarily exclusive, but like you're talking to them, getting to know them, enjoying them.
Yeah, before you become boyfriend and girlfriend, because some people just see they see single courtship and marriage, and it's like there's a point where you meet the person, you actually get to know them.
Some people say that dating is boyfriend and girlfriend.
The lines are hella blurred.
In this situation, it was not a boyfriend and girlfriend, and I honestly didn't even know. I should say it was absolutely legal. It was legal.
Disclaimer: if anything that ARAMIDE is not reflective of the Second Nature pod.
Yeah, it was completely.
Said it was legal.
Absolutely.
I've had a guy lie about his age before.
Is it that deep though?
Wow, so guys are doing that.
Was he like saying he was 20, but he was like
he was younger than what he said he was? Yeah.
Even more so.
That's
fire on the mountain.
Yeah.
Run. And what I wanted to say was, even in that time, because our ages were so close together, it was less than a year. It was less than a year. I could do less than a year. It wasn't obvious because we were like around the same age gap. But I think for me, it's like I don't look at men who are like younger than me. I look at them the way I look at my brothers. Like, I don't like I can't do it because I feel like an agbaya. Sorry, I need to. In my language, it means like a person who doesn't respect themselves, like an older person. Because I'll not be like, oh, watch the place, and I'm like, wait, you're my husband. But like, I think for me, it's like also people who are like, I can't date someone who's too old, because like life experiences are very different, and also the idea of like having like a really wide age gap where like I'm chilling in my 60s and you in your 70s, and I'm in my 80s and you in your 90s, I'm in my 90s and you in your hundreds. It's a bit of a mazine, but I think age is definitely a touchy one. And also as a woman, like obviously, if you're wanting to have kids, there's a certain age where you won't be able to do that anymore. So I feel like sometimes there's a lot more pressure on like women to definitely like settle down at a certain age to give yourself enough time. And that kind of narrows your dating pool just a bit more, because some men will reach like 40 and then decide I want to get married, or 50 and then decide I want to get married. My parents have been looking at me since I finished uni, like, when is it coming? When is it coming? When will you marry?
Well, we just married all the guys in it. So the ones that are ready, that are like 35, you go for them. You marry them.
35.
I'm 24.
35.
You say it like, is it my parents? There's nine years between them.
Lord.
So like you're saying it like it's impossible.
My parents have a bigger age gap. I will say that my parents are not together. They've not been together for about 20 something years, and I don't think it's something that I want for me and my household. But going back to your question about like, I think like 2 years max older than me is reasonable.
Okay.
I'm not asking for too much.
No, that's reasonable.
Yeah.
That's reasonable.
I
All
say,
of you better agree.
I say +or -3. Let's do standard deviation.
+or -3. Now,
Minus.
+3 is a mazine.
-3.
-3 I can do is like that's like my limit. Like my girl's 3 years younger than me.
Yeah, but you're a guy. Like
You're a
the
guy,
average
yeah.
girls,
Man +1
Yeah.
max.
like for me, obviously I'm engaged, but if I was single, would I date an older woman? I don't know. It would have to be like 1 year max, like Chude said.
I was gonna say, I was like,
Like,
JIREH's not dating an older woman.
If it's like 2-3 years, I know for a fact they're going to either what's the word, emasculate me, or
No, not necessarily. No.
So,
Oh
Let's-
my
let's-
goodness.
let's
How
not put
fragile
that.
are
Let
you?
me,
No, guys,
let me land. When there's conversations going on and there's arguments,
Gotta watch the clip.
I know Sophie's gonna come up thinking, but this guy's a you. Why is he talking to me like this?
You know, I remember, I don't think you guys, I think during like when quarantine radio and things were happening, and that girl went on, and I think she was like, that Dusty.
Oh yeah,
Can you imagine like me like, that's small you, he's talking to me, who do you think you are? I earn more than you, I'm older than you. Yeah.
Nah,
It just, I mean, I'm imagining it in the worst situations, but obviously I know that that's not obviously
I
the
think
case.
more time it probably won't happen.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think obviously these are idols, but I remember listening to another podcast in Blackberry where they discussed kind of like this, and they were saying like, I think what our non-negotiables should be things that are rooted in scripture. Like obviously the Bible's not super clear about dating or marriage, even like who we should pick. The Bible makes it clear about one thing, that they should be a Christian, but there's not like a personality criteria they can go to the scripture to look for outside of that. So I think there is a bit of freedom there, but I think also then we should be kind of mindful of what we rank highly. Like, is beauty important? I'm not gonna say it's not, like that's a lie, but like we have to be mindful that beauty can fade. Things that we appreciate about a person physically could end in a moment for whatever reason, whether it's a car crash, not to be morbid, but anything could happen, right? So I think when we think about these things, I think we should hold them with kind of like a pinch of salt, thinking like whether it's life or an accident or whatever, that this thing, is it really, like if this was taken away from them, would this really affect the way that I ought to love this person?
Yeah.
And if that is the case, then potentially we might have to rethink, like, why do I hold this to such a high regard when it's something that is not going to necessarily last forever?
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily think it's wrong to have lists or to have your ideals, like just go and marry anybody and say that God will keep me. But like, I do think that maybe sometimes we are holding some things up in our list too high in the priority. Like,
that's why I said, are we being too picky, or are we looking like for a fairy tale?
I think potentially,
so.
I think potentially it can happen. Like, because like, I think all the people that when they're 23, like what you wanted when you were 23, and if you're 27 and you're still single, you now start being a bit more lenient. You now start.
Nah.
What, yeah, I wanted a 6'5" when I was 23, but now I'm still for 6'3". You know, like
6'5" to 6'3" is a lot for some
I'm
people.
recalibrating my expectations.
Trust me, before it was 6 figure, but now I will settle for 5. You know, it doesn't have to be 6 anymore. Like, and as time goes on, you're a bit more like who people introduce you to. You now start widening your pool. Before they have to have 6-pack. Now, if their belly's a little bit hangy, you don't mind. Like, as time goes on, it's now the your standards are shifting.
Lowering.
Do you get what I'm saying? So like, if time can change your standard, then maybe that it wasn't that deep to begin with. Like, if you're stubborn and you're willing to wait until you're 35 to find your dream woman or man, delete as appropriate. More power to you, man.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think some people are picky and they do focus too much on the things that don't matter, that it causes them to miss what does matter. That I get along with this person, like I actually like this person, but because they don't have this one thing, I can't be with you. but I can't speak for everyone. I can only speak for myself. And I have been told that I am picky. And I have a question for you guys, because the type of man that I want, in terms of, I just want a man that loves God. And I've been told
they're hard to find though.
Yeah, but I've been told that I need to lower.
What did they want you to marry a witch? Like, just say
please ask them.
You don't like God? No, please.
I don't get it, because I've been told, like, even just things like, oh, he cares about scripture. He loves talking about Jesus Christ. Oh no, you're expecting too much. You need to lower. And I'm just like, these are Christian men that have told me this.
So why? You know what? Let me tell you why. Those men do not have the qualities you're looking for. That's why they are not telling you, find a man who doesn't love the Lord, find a man who doesn't like scripture, because that's where they are. And
but they're saying that he can love God, but like one of them even said, like, he doesn't really have to go to church like that.
Where are these men?
He just like.
And you sent a disclaimer out to the Christian ladies,
because
so they know.
He needs to focus. Like, sometimes his main focus is just like providing and working and stuff. And I'm just like, okay.
No,
Faith, you have
that's one of the
some enemies in your camp.
I don't listen because I know better.
I think you should break up whatever friendship you have with them, or just direct them to like actual men. No, because some people see like their families and they see maybe their mom is the one who's the prayer warrior and the dad just provides, and maybe the father isn't even like emotionally present with the kids. In their eyes, from a man's perspective, that looks easy, right? It's easy to raise kids when you don't actually have to spend time with them. It's easy to be a Christian in a Christian household when you're not actually spending time with the Lord. And so basically what they're finding is another wheelbarrow that will come and carry those responsibilities for them. And so when your standards are not too high, deep down it's peppering their chest, because they're thinking, but my mom did it and she's fine and she's alive and we turned out okay. Did you turn out okay?
One guy,
that's the question you should be asking.
He wants his wife to lead his house spiritually. And I said, I said scripture. I said Bible does not say that. And he, like, I was really trying to convince him. I said, like, this is what Paul says in First Timothy.
They don't care what Paul says.
You know what he said to me? He said, do you want me to lie to you? I said, you know what?
Listen,
he's been.
You need to tell these men to come up higher, man. Because what it kind of does is
what kind of.
I've had a similar experience
on the seafloor
with a friend who, this was ages ago. So this friend is a Christian, and they were like, "Oh, you know what? I'm might be looking to start dating," and I know who they are. So I was kind of like, "Okay, so like, for example, what's your stance on like, waiting to like after marriage to have sex and things like that?" And they were like, "Oh, I meant like not Christian like you." And you know what? I was like, there ain't no problem. There ain't no problem. Because
no, not those Bible believing Christians. The ones that just put Christian in the bio. I'm after those ones. Yeah.
I said.
Oh, they're like God first. Is God really first?
You started too high.
Why are you wearing a Jesus piece?
You started too high. I said, are you willing to wait until after marriage? And he was like, nah.
No, he was. Not Christian like you. And I didn't even take that as an insult. I was like, now I know exactly where you are, because I think some people are so used to such a quote unquote low level of Christianity where they go to church and they have a Bible next to their beds and they might have, a scripture in their bio. And as far as they're done, that's heaven sorted. As far as I've secured heaven, I'm going to wash my hands of everything else.
I think that goes back to your question, are our standards too high? I don't think they're always too high. Yeah. I think people just have a low expectation in general, that when they see you have the right standard, they're like, nah, that's too high. That's not attainable. Like, nobody's like that. Like, you need to lower that. Because
but they want you to submit.
Around, they want you to submit.
They want you to do your part. And it's like, no, I'll marry someone who are actually active. I see this man, I'm like, you know what? I actually want to submit to you. I like your vision. I love your relationship with God. But some men obviously aren't worth your submission. Yeah. And so to those, it's kind of like, her standards are too high.
Yeah.
But those standards are not the ones that you need to drop. They're not the ones, those are the ones that are clearly laid out in scripture, right?
I even need to raise them.
To follow Christ and to follow his commands, which are good for everyone, right? So that is crazy. Like, that is, whoa, man. Listen,
and these are Christian men. I'm telling you, they actually ruin the market for actual Christian men.
Yes.
Speaking about standards, because it seems like the guys on Love Island don't have any standards, because everyone they want is either
JIREH.
blonde,
petite,
blue
blonde
eyes,
women.
or petite. Yeah, so obviously, Faith, like you said, you don't watch the show, but all the guys who are on there who are from different backgrounds, different ethnicities, all want the same looking woman, a white woman with blonde hair and blue eyes, which I find really strange.
Very.
It's giving me Aryan. Is it Aryan?
Aryan
Yeah,
race,
Aryan. There we
Youth,
go. It's giving me
yeah,
that.
Hitler Youth kind of stuff. But it brought me to this question of: do Christians have like a particular type, or Christian men anyway? Do they have like a particular type that they always go for? And especially when I think about Black women, I think about, does colorism come into play for Christian men? That's a question right there.
I think so.
You do. Elaborate.
That's not for other people.
I think so, only because they had a life before Christ, right? And they live in this world, and I think, yes, we try to do different, but we're still exposed to the standards that the world gives us. Even just based on the conversation that we just had, a lot of that comes from the world. So I think I think you have to be willing to unlearn everything that you have learned from the world. And that includes the type of woman you go for, why you like that kind of woman, what exactly it is that attracts you to that woman. A lot of people also have had sexual experiences that they need, that affects the way they view women, that they need to let go of. So I think, yes, I think a lot of times men do have a certain type of woman, but I think they give language to it, or they give a word to it, and that is preference. This is my preference. That is what I prefer,
My type.
But when you dig deeper, you really see that it's not really preference. It's something that you have learned growing up, depending on what kind of school you went to, what kind of people you've been around. And if you're not willing to unlearn that, that is what you're going to keep going for. And that's why, because even with Christian women, right? There are Christian women in the church, but certain types of Christian women are not in the church. And a lot of times, like the Instagram baddie type Christian women, you don't really see that. You don't really see an Instagram baddie in the church. You don't.
Not in a small church, anyway.
Not in a small church, exactly. You don't really see that. And a lot of times, like, that's what men might like, and that might be what they want. And that's why you might see that they're still single, because I've seen that as well, where that's the kind of women they like. And eventually, when they do find a woman, she's kind of similar to that, but she's a Christian. So there's also that aspect of it.
Hear it.
What do you think today?
I do think I agree with what Faith said. I think there has to be unlearning that needs to be done as a Christian. Paul will say that we need to renew our minds, and I think that includes in how we view women, or how we view men. Again, delete as appropriate. Like you have to think, why do I think this way, right? I think it's very ignorant to believe that the way that we think is kind of like unstained from the world or any influence. Like I just kind of like have this mindset that I formulated by myself. I don't think so. I think obviously where we live will obviously kind of like influence who we do see. But then also things like people who's the popular girl or boy in school, who did everyone find attractive, that's going to influence you. Whether you get attention or not, who you get attention from, whether white, black, Asian, whoever, that's going to influence potentially who you go for. Because if a certain ethnicity is always the people that regularly, draw themselves to you, then you're more likely to potentially, even if they're not necessarily your same ethnicity, they might, oh wow, these group of women always find me attractive. So even if you're being is it fetishized? Is it fetishized?
Fetishized.
Oh, thank God. Thank you. Fetishized by them, you're not even gonna care, because you're like, these are the women that find me attractive. So I think definitely, we need to kind of like do think like, why do I find this person attractive? And then as Faith said, the way that I even communicate with women, like, is it a way that honors them as image bearers? Is it a way that honors them with dignity? Because if every time I speak to them, I can never speak to them about how they think, what they do, getting to know them, is all they've got a big back, or they're pretty to look at, or I can tell my boy that she's paying. That's all you care about. Then it's good that you appreciate her beauty. Yeah, you should, but that's not the only thing that makes. So if she wasn't beautiful, then she wouldn't be worth respect or dignity or honor. Then I think that's a sort of thinking that shouldn't be compatible with a guy. So I think we can definitely have our preferences. We can definitely have our, what we like and whatever. But I think we do need to think like how did I get here? And I think that can be easier said than done, because like I said, if you grew up in an area where only a certain group of women or men were attracted to you, then you might not be eager to like branch out, because nobody likes rejection. Do you get what I'm saying? Imagine that you're moving to, let's say you want to date black, everything black. You start moving to black women and you're just getting shut down. It's demoralizing. Do you know what I mean? It's demoralizing. And then you go to a white lady and she finds you attractive. You're not gonna care whether or not she fetishises you, whether her dad is racist, but that might not be the first thing on your mind. You're just like, you know what?
Wow.
It's true. You might not, because you've tried 6 black women.
Yeah.
And you've received 0. You're frustrated. You're not, maybe not, like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, frustration can make you do things that maybe you wouldn't usually do, and then you're just gonna go, you know what? Let me just branch out.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna get cooked online, because people say that you hate black women, all of this stuff, and then out of anger, you're responding to people who don't understand you. They don't understand you. Do you know? So on both sides, people are not understanding each other, and both sides might have credible arguments as to, your thinking might be bad about black women, but also you've gotten here because of the way you were treated as well, and both are valid in different ways. So I think, we just need to think, and also think in community. I think thinking in community can help us, like black women or other women of ethnicities can help men think, okay, like, this is what you're thinking, this is how it's bad, or this is how it's good, and vice versa too.
Yeah. What do you think, Aramide?
What you guys are saying is really insightful. I don't think I've ever had this conversation with Christians. And full stop. And I think a lot of people don't realize that their dating preferences is something that also needs to be renewed when they're in Christ, because I think people just add more things to the list of what they want, right? They're like, okay, so before in the world, I wanted a girl or a guy who looked exactly this way. Now it's like, I'm trying to find that exact same thing, but in Christ. Or the worst ones, who I'm trying to find someone who's like proper toiled in the world. And then now they're Christian, because now they can bring like the best of both worlds, because you want holy and wickedness all in one person. And so, it's just not something.
Ratchet.
Yeah, holy and just God no. And that's what they want. And I think unpicking that is a lot harder than, like, it's something that's hard to do, because if you know a certain group of people really like you, then you're just going to settle with that. And going back to like what you see in the world, for example, going back to Love Island, every single year, I do not know why Black women apply to go on the show, because if it wasn't Montana, it was Samira. If it wasn't Samira, it was Yewande. You know what? Actually, let me not speak for her. So because I don't know whether she identifies. It wasn't Samira, it was Yewande. If it wasn't Yewande, it was Kaz. Because every single year they would say, "Oh, the Black girl is pretty, but not pretty enough to date, not pretty enough to be wifed, or whatever.
She's got a good vibe, or she's energetic and bubbly.
Yeah, she's bubbly. She's a good friend.
They'll use all these descriptors of things that would describe personality, but they would never describe the physical appearance. But for anyone else on the island, physical appearance is the first thing that they'll say, which I find very, very, very weird.
Extremely strange.
Not my type on paper. And then it's just kind of like that. And the reality is, hopefully those people will become saved, but when they come into the Christendom, who says those preferences will change, and who says they're actually going to see that as something that needs to change? And I think it just continues to perpetuate this idea of, like, because we're all part of a community, everything is just kind of skewed in one way, where some women kind of feel left behind or feel undesired because, you know, we're brothers and sisters in Christ. So we'll always remain sisters and never not wives. And I think that can start to cause resentment in some people because they're like, well, if we can say the Christendom is all over the world and not everyone looks the same, and there's beauty in that because we are created in God's image, but it seems like one image is preferred, you know, over the other. But I think it's just an interesting topic that I've never seen through a Christian context. But even when you think of like rich people in the world, you know, they usually have their starter wives and then they have the wives that they then land with at the end of the day. But there's often a disparity between the up and coming wife and the wife when they have the money. And I don't know whether it's like, I'm not going to say I'm not saying that I don't have any hope about this topic, but I'm very doubtful that those people actively start to see other people, like especially men and women that look the same as them or even slightly different to them, as image bearers and not just like challenges to be won over, if that makes sense. Because some people like to acquire women almost as trophies.
Oh yeah.
And if you don't see someone as valuable, I don't want someone to like fetishize me or think of me as a trophy. I'm a child of God, but then again, that is, you know, that's a certain branding in itself. But like if you obviously don't see someone as like worth something, you would never really like care about them to an extent.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, I think the problem is this conversation will never actually happen because the first gate people would have to pass through is the race topic, and they don't want to get around the race topic because I mean certain sects of Christianity don't see race as something to be worthy of discussed. Like look at the TL, well, look at American Christianity that will go up in flames over critical race theory. Disclaimer, I don't even know what it is. I couldn't explain it to you.
I know a bit about it, but not enough to care about it.
So for it to even come to preferences in itself, it just wouldn't happen. They'll say that they'll see everyone as they'll say that they provide equal opportunity for everyone, you know. Everyone's got an equal playing field. But if you were to look at their preferences, like Faith said, this is what they've taken in from the world before they were Christian, or even if they've grown up in a Christian quote unquote household their whole life, this is what they've been conditioned and this is what they've learned. And they don't see a problem with that, so they'll never unlearn it. So if someone was to say to them, well, if this is your type, how come you've never gone for anyone else, even if they are Christian? And you would see them like kind of bumbling over their words because they don't actually have a legitimate explanation. They would have to, I guess, have a deep, hard look at themselves and realize, oh, yeah, this is kind of what I've been programmed to kind of like.
And I think there was even a conversation about that, you know, twice, like one from like the UK side and one like an American kind of perspective as well. And the fact is that a rapper called No Big Deal is a Christian rapper. He's got a white wife. And he even accepted what the woman said. He's like, he said that, you know, God brought this woman to me, but what the woman that brought the conversation one day said is right? There seems to be this thing where prominent Black leaders throughout Christianity are picking white women to be their wives, right?
Sorry, we should say we have no qualms of interracial relationships.
Oh, please.
We are with it.
Marry whoever you want to marry.
With it.
Honestly, I when I say I don't
the
care,
more the better, right?
Yeah, when I say I don't care, it's not like it's not in a flippant way. It's like I don't care who you want to marry. Do as you feel led. But I think we can two things can be simultaneously true, right? We can say that you can have a preference that is legitimate. You can even say that God led me to this person if you believe that God picks your spouse. And you can still say like there seems to be a trend that depicts this narrative, right? And if we're going to be faithful to people and to loving our neighbor, then I think that the least we can do is to see whether this trend actually leads to something, because it could be false, right? Let's say that this trend just happens to be a coincidence. Then let's at least do our due diligence and say, you know what, this trend doesn't actually lead to anything, and we can be clear. But if this trend seems to be leading to somewhere, then don't we have like a duty to be able to say, you know what, like there just seems to be this thing where the darker skinned Black women are feeling less desirable for X, Y, and Z reason. right? And the way that you behave towards Black women perpetuates this narrative that they're undesirable, right? And let's work together to. That's not saying that you now need to divorce your wife who might be white. It just means that let's create an environment where Black women do not feel like they are the least desirable because of the choices that we're making, and let's rethink the way that we are treating women, especially black dark-skinned women, and that we can move forward. But like Jimmy said, and like you all have said, it seems like we don't really have the conversation. So because we can't have the conversation, we just limit it to, oh, it's my preference. And if someone says it's my preference, I don't have to think about it. I can't question it because it's just basically how this is what I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think my issue with the whole thing is just the way growing up, the way men talk about Black women, it's just terrible. You know, I just don't like them. They're this, they're that. You guys are loud. You guys are aggressive, especially when it comes to Black men, because it's so confusing to me. Because I'm like, we really grew up in the same type of household. Like, out of everyone, you should understand why I'm like this. You should understand that if I raise my voice a little bit, it's not because I'm angry. It's not because I'm being aggressive. It's just because that's what Black people do sometimes. We just raise up. We're loud. Loud. Like, in general, we're just loud people. But for you to compare me to someone that has a completely different upbringing to me and to you, and then say that you do not like me because of our upbringing, I just find that ridiculous. I find that absolutely ridiculous.
It's a farce. I'm sorry. Like, some of the, you're loud, you're this, you're loud. I didn't grow up in an area with Black people, period. And when I came to uni, I was like, I want to make Black friends. And that's when I knew that all of those, oh, you're loud, you're this. Honestly, a lot of it is just like excuses that people just put in the way. They don't like you because they don't like you.
Yeah.
And even like on
they
Twitter,
don't like you because they've been conditioned to not like you.
Yeah, conditioned to not like you, conditioned to believe that some people are a prize, and so and you're just common. Like, we see you every day, you know, we go to Auntie Lagwaja's house, you're there, like you're familiar, right? You're familiar. And so anything else that's different, that's exotic. It's what's it.
Exotic.
And also, I think we need to speak more about how men live for the approval of other men.
My God.
Because sometimes when they'll get a girl, it's not because they like the girl. They'll be like, if my boys like this girl, then I know I'm winning because I'm getting with someone that they find desirable but doesn't like them. And if, like, you see all the time when guys will be like, they'll be doing something slimy and then they'll look to their boys just to double check that the boys are okay with it. And that behavior is also something that you need to work out as a Christian. Like, it's not just you living for, you know, for social media or for your family. You also need to realize that you're not there to live for your friends or to live for the approval of your friends, because that's what has you got some people checked up at night because they're doing things they don't like. They're with people they don't like. But as long as the boys approve, then it's all good. And even just going
even in that same sense, there are women that guys are dating that they don't think would be looking good on their social media, so they don't take it any deeper or pursue it any further. Because their guys will be like, yeah, she's not really all that still.
Because
I've seen that. I've actually seen that where people are dating someone and like you can tell these people are like they're vibing, they're getting along, but they'll just never take it further just because this person doesn't fit the bill. This person is not up to the standard that everybody else has put. Everybody else would like, type of thing. And I just think it's so ridiculous, especially as a Christian.
It's juvenile.
Oh, honestly, it's like, and I really love what you said before about we're all image bearers. And like when you're not even able to see everyone as an image bearer, and you're only nice to the pretty girl. Yeah, you only welcome the pretty girl in church, or you only give her a Bible, but everybody else, like, you kind of ignore, like they're not there. Like, me as a woman, I see that. I see when guys are only nice to a pretty girl, or you're only nice. You're only paying for her meal because she's pretty. But if somebody else was struggling, you wouldn't really care. Like, you wouldn't really pay attention. I've seen those situations as well, where it's only men, Christian men, only catering to pretty women. because she's beautiful,
Mhm.
but everybody else is
So because
whatever.
she has the facial features that are arranged in a certain way, the rest of us should not be carrying our own chairs. I don't understand. Like pretty
Yes.
privilege is
Come on, yes.
no, lift the chairs for me too. But no, pretty privilege is real. And even just going past like the topic of dating, I remember seeing a tweet years ago about how in terms of like, churches that are actively, we're multinational, we're multiracial, everyone come to our church. Why is it that the Black people in your church don't get past the ushering team? Because they're there to welcome. So when you see, there's another Black person in this church, we can vibes. And then when you now look in the pulpit, or you look, maybe they're not even the choir leaders, maybe there's someone in your church, maybe they're the temple cleaners, and there's nothing wrong with those positions at all, but it seems that they always seem to be in the people facing role, because it makes everyone think that your church is actually multicultural. But when you actually go behind closed doors to the people who make the decisions, somehow that color now seems to be missing. And so we can't like have this mentality of like this insidious way of like regarding other people's skin color is something that's coincidental. I feel like it's something that I don't want to think that Christian leaders or Christians are actively being wicked, but you know what gets people in the door, and so you do what you need to do. I don't know whether it's because more money will come in via tithe, or maybe your church will look better on social media. No, we're not lying here. But I think it also goes to that as well. So we can't like assume that because someone is Christian, once again, like we've just been reinstating, that their heart has been changed. Yes, maybe you pray 5 times a day, maybe you fast when you need to, or maybe you tithe, and maybe you love your neighbor. But the thing is, those like thoughts you have in your head, how you perceive other people, some people don't see it as something that needs to be changed. They just see it as, but I've already renewed as much of my mind as I can. This is where we are, so let's just chill here, because those are the people that be frothing at the mouth when you bring home a Black girl, and then that's when they now realize that, we didn't know that we had.
Is she from
go back to your then
yeah. Like, do you know what I think? I think it's easy to confront idols that aren't really idols. So like, it's easy to identify with don't steal if when you were an unbeliever, stealing was already frowned upon, or don't murder, not murdering was already frowned upon. So it's easy for me to do that. But then like, maybe even potentially don't even have sex. That's you could be, I might vibe with that. But then you read, Jesus said, but if your eye causes you to sin, pluck it out. You're like, whoa, wait, hold on. Like,
you talking about eye?
Yeah, like what Christianity is asking of me is that I need to deny anything that is an affront to the glory of God. I need to fight that. I need to destroy that in my life, right? And when the things that we hold dearly to ourselves are the things that people seem to struggle to, all of us, like, let go. So it's easy to say things like, race is not this, race is not that, because it's not an issue that affects you, right? When it's not an issue that affects you, it's easy to be to dismiss it, to say like it's not really that big of a deal, and in that way you're not really loving your neighbor anyway. When somebody expresses that this is what we feel, and you dismiss them. So whilst I agree with you, Aramide, that I would like to think that most pastors are not like insidious in like, okay, we're going to make ethnic minorities stay at the back and just be ushers. But I do think that I don't think that especially bigger churches are mindlessly creating strategies to expand their church. Like they know things are like, if you've ever been to a big church or been to a church that's trying to like be big, things are very regiment. Things are very like to the T. They are laid out. Like, it's not like your small church where everybody has a key and we just set up as we can and just hope for the best that Sunday. Things are ordered,
regimented.
Right? They know what they're doing every step of the way. People are in positions for certain things at certain times. So I think that the work of examining ourselves isn't an easy work, and I think that's why when we see it in scriptures in the context of community, because we all have blind spots, right? And we need to be willing when somebody says, you know what, like, I've noticed this behavior, and I think you need to consider it, not to take it as enough, like, to be offended by that, but to be able to, like, you know what, like, wow, like this sister, this brother said that this thing about me. Maybe I need to, think about it and seek help if necessary. But I think if we're not willing to accept that, doing this work would be painful, then people won't do it, because I think sometimes it's just easy to be like, oh, okay, yeah, right. When it doesn't cost anything, it's easy for me to accept, whatever it is that needs to be changed. But when it does cost something, that's when I think it becomes really difficult for people to, actually do the work.
And I think also people don't know that this work needs to be done. I think that's another issue. When it comes to race, a lot of times they don't know. I didn't know, because I grew up in the Black church, right? So for me, every Black person was Christian. Like every Black person I met, you're Christian. Like
Facts.
until you start moving mad, and I'm like, do you not go to church?
Do you not fear God?
Do you not know God? Do you not fear Him?
Wait, the Christian gods. Let's make that clear, because some people are
Listen,
worshiping
when first time I
crystals
saw
and
a
stuff.
Black person smoking, I was shocked. I didn't know Black
Do you
people
get
smoke.
me?
Really?
No.
100%.
The first time I met a Black Muslim person, I said, "Wait, is that possible?"
Trust me,
Wait,
I was jolted.
You guys need to come over to my house at some point.
What's going on?
No, honestly, because you just assume that every Black person, because I grew up in the Black church, that's all I knew. Church was all I knew. Black people are Christian. And white people, on the other hand, I'm like, they can smoke, they can drink, they can do this, they can steal, they can do all of that stuff.
We get a cans.
No,
Do you
I
get
remember
me?
the first time I came to this country and we're driving, can't remember where, somewhere, I think we're going into London or something. And we like stopped at the traffic lights, and to the right there was a shop for witchcraft. And I just remember thinking, but in Nigeria, these are the things that you hide in the village. Like these are the things you see in movies. Like if you see like a pot, like a clay pot with stuff in it, you run in the opposite direction. You don't stop, you don't look at it. But there was a shop, and I was like, these people are paying to have this shop to fill it with potions and things that don't work.
Yeah.
And I was like, people must be like purchasing things from the shop for it to still be here. And I just remember being like, so this is what the Oyimbos are doing. This is what they're about.
Yeah, that's what
They
they're
practice
about.
witchcraft in the open.
That is what they're about. And like for me, that was the norm, right? So like I never tried talking about God with white people or anything like that, because I was just like, you don't care. Until I started meeting white Christians. And it's funny because on TV you see white Christians. When your parents are watching, is it TVN? Is white people?
Yeah,
Hello.
It's actually white, but it never registered in my brain that these people are white. I was just like, it's just TV, is it? But in real life, like I would never try and talk to white people. I kind of dismissed them, like, only Jesus can help you, but you don't know Jesus because you're white. But then like the more I grew up and I started going to like mixed churches, I started being around white people. And I went to a church where my pastor was white, and I was like, my pastor's white. I was like, what? And I had to unlearn the things that I believed about white people. That they're this, they're that, they can't be Christians, that like white people are not Christians. I had to unlearn these things because I realized that race has nothing to do with salvation. Like Jesus saved, like he died for everyone. And if you want to receive that gift, it's free for everyone, not just Black people. It's free for white people too, for Jews, it's free for Asians, everyone. And these are the things that I had to unlearn about race as a Black person. And the same thing goes for white people as well, having to unlearn whatever it is that they believe about other races. But I think I didn't learn that by my pastor talking about it at church. I learned it because I wanted to. I learned it because I recognized that this was a deficiency in me. But a lot of people don't. They don't know that. They just think that, oh, like the way I think it's okay. It's fine. I'm not racist. I don't say these kind of words.
Or they don't realize that they have racist ideas until something comes really close to home. It's like, yeah, of course we have, the Blacks in our churches and the Asians in our churches, and we're okay with it. Until like I said, if let's say one of your children brings home someone of a different race, and then you're gagging and you realize that, oh wait, I have a problem with this, and I didn't realize that I have a problem with this.
One of your children brings home a Black person from church, and you're mad.
You know,
you go to the same
he's
church.
Christian, but he's Christian, but
is it not Toby from church?
Yeah, trust me. What about
no, not even Toby. What if his name was Sam? What if his name was Abraham?
Isn't that Sam from church?
Yeah,
but Sam's different to us, It's different.
They're not
see
like
that?
us.
If you realize you start shuffling, that's when you actually need to know that there's work to be done. Yeah. Yeah, God will help us.
Man, no.
100, no. But I think conversations like these are necessary and helpful. And like you said, Faith, I think it's just about meeting. Not necessarily you have to go to like a multi national church, but even like just being around believers are not like you can help you understand people who aren't like you. I think sometimes part of the ignorance is just like we just, like you said, when you're just not around other ethnicities or races, you just don't know. Like when I tell you the first time I heard a white person speak in tongues, I was like, white people speak in tongues? I was like, who would have thought? Like, do you know what I mean? And it was just ignorance. It was just because I had grown up in a black church. I didn't know. I had never witnessed white Christians before. Like for a very long time, I had never done that. I had never seen that in my era. I don't know why I had never seen black people smoke. So it's only when I started mixing with white Christians, the first time I ever, I think it was quite late into my life, like maybe 18, 19, where I met other white Christians.
Yeah, that's when I met them as well.
Like be like, wow, like so much of our Christian upbringing has been influenced by our culture. So there are misconceptions that I have about you, and there's misconceptions you have about me that we can only really deal with when we get to know each other, or else I'm gonna keep assuming wrong things about you, and you're gonna keep assuming wrong things about me as well. So I think definitely like making the effort to just meet with other believers as well could help.
Yeah, definitely. I guess we end it here. I say that because there's obviously a first look for Love Island that came on, and it looks like our beloved sister Kaz is finally standing up for herself against Toby, who's Nigerian.
But like 1 week too late. Like, why now? It's just weird.
Wait, so did you say Nigerian? Why did you bring Nigerian into it?
No,
Toby, who's Nigerian.
I don't think Toby identifies as Nigerian. I think he identifies as British.
Well, his name clearly
is clearly like
Nigerian.
So you know what? I don't think it's our place to assign our ethnic pronouns onto people.
Ethnic pronouns.
Wow. I think
what we're doing. Okay.
I think it's okay for people to choose where they want to align with. Yeah.
Trans ethnicity. I hear it.
That is actually a thing.
It's a thing.
It is a thing. Yeah, I saw that recently.
That Korean brother.
Yeah, he wants to be Korean.
Yeah.
Jesus, come quick.
He is. I don't know.
I'm not gonna get into that. Yeah. Well, guys. Guys, that's the end of today's episode. Make sure you follow us on our socials and Twitter. First and foremost, Chude and Faith, do you want to drop your socials? Let people know where you are. So maybe you can meet more white Christians.
Maybe what?
So maybe you can meet more white Christians.
Guys, there are more Christians. Like you can meet Asian Christians, you can meet Arab Christians, South American Christians, European Christians. Yeah. So you met like one and you're like, I've met those.
Ladies first though. Go on, Faith.
So I have Instagram and it's Heike Faith. That's it.
And she's been posting now.
I just spell Heike.
So it's Heike Faith FAITH.
And it's Chude Obuaya, so CHUDE OBUAYA at everything. Well, apart from TikTok, I'm on TikTok. I think that's I'm too old for that. But yeah, Instagram, Twitter, Snap. Do people still use Snap?
You Snap. Do people still? I think we're too old for that. I'm not gonna lie.
After hearing multiple people scream "Hey!" from like 10 different ones, I got tired.
Yeah, guys. Subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcast.
Leave a rating on Apple Podcasts and review as well.
Yeah. Let us know what you think, guys, because we see the listeners and you guys aren't letting us know what you think. So unless they're all fake listeners and there's people that are plotting our downfall, but no weapon formed against us shall prosper in Jesus' name. Amen. So it's the end of the episode, and normally at this point we we do like a, what do we call, like a word train? So I start off with a word and you guys add words onto it. So I'll say, with that, we say peace.
Love.
Joy.
Hope.
Hope indeed. Hope that Black women will rise in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen. Yeah, amen.
Not sure about that. I feel like we're
Just so
already.
like a
Wow.
phoenix.
No, rise in the eyes of the others, because
Okay.
yeah.
In
We don't
those
need to
that
rise
it
in their eyes. We're
matters.
perfect where we are. They need
Yeah,
to
of
open their
course.
eyes and level up.
Yeah.
Yeah, they need to level up. That's it.
Yeah.
That's the hope. That's the
Yeah,
hope.
that's the hope. Yeah.
That's the hope.
What
Come
you
on.
said. And all them things there.
There.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.